sites. So just so that you remember, if you need to, please reach out to your health department if you haven't seen them already, especially probably by the end of October. If they haven't been into your building, they may not be coming or planning to come. You do at least have to keep communication that you tried to reach out and get them to come. Now, we can't promise that they're going to come, right? You have no control over that. But if you can keep that email correspondence, that's a great way to say, hey, I reached out and I asked. Another thing is substitutions. I'm going to talk about this in a little more detail, but again, just aiming for compliance. I know there's a lot of waivers out there, and we'll talk about this again in a minute in a bit more detail, but we do still want to aim for compliance. We're going to talk about, so if you went into your CURS to put in claims, you might have seen that not only is your old procurement review probably still open, if you're one of those schools that they're still trying to get a couple of things from, there may be a new review that is open. That's not incorrect. The new reviews are starting, yes, unfortunately. So just keep track of that. ODE hasn't given timelines or anything like that for the new ones. So they are trying to close up all of the past procurement reviews before we move on to the new ones. If you have any questions about what you need to keep for administrative review, if you need help with procurement review moving forward, please feel free to reach out to Maureen or myself, and we can help you. We have administrative and procurement review boot camps. We've been keeping lists as we talk with ODE and all of the communications that we're getting on how to make that process a little smoother this time. We've all learned from procurement review number one, some do's and don'ts. So please reach out to us if you have any questions. Another good reminder, November 15th is the deadline for verifications. So if you sent out the sheets for household income information, you do need to pull for verification, just as we've always done, and that deadline is November 15th. So make sure that you're doing that as well. And then we're going to talk about some best ordering practices as well, as I know that that has been probably the largest hardship at the beginning of the school year. So some best ordering practices I just want to go over is only order what you need. I know that there is some worry that when things come back into stock, if it's your favorite mac and cheese or if it's your favorite burger, that we want to order 25 cases if we only need 3 cases, so that next time it's on the menu, it's in the freezer and we're ready to go. I would caution you from doing that. First and foremost, let's share fairly with all of your surrounding schools so that those products can go a little further. And it will help you keep a tighter inventory. I know as I'm walking through buildings, there's a lot of extra ordering that's been going on. So stuff really isn't stored the way that it should be stored for food safety reasons. And if and when the health department comes out to your building, even though we're in the middle of all this craziness going on, they will write you up for that. So there is no, I'm trying to order, we're having a hard time getting food and I'm just trying to stock up. That's not going to fly with the health department. You still have to utilize the space that you have and store things correctly. So please just make sure that you're ordering what you need to help with the out of stocks, because if you're hoarding, it's kind of like the toilet paper issue of last year, then there is none for everyone else, right? So just keep that in mind. It will make your inventory at the end of the month easier if there isn't a ton of stuff in your coolers and freezers and dry storage that you have to inventory. And also just thinking, so getting pieces and parts is very difficult for equipment. I have a cooler that has been down since the middle of July and the part is not coming for 3 more weeks. Fingers crossed, hopefully. It's probably sitting on a port in California somewhere. So just think about that. If you fill your cooler or freezer too full of food, it can't breathe. You will kill the compressor in it. And that's not something you're going to be able to order and get within a week to 10 days the way we've been able to before. So again, another just caution for over ordering. And then obviously, if you're still having issues getting compliant items, there just isn't a school compliant muffin or a school compliant bun for your hamburger. Please just keep track. That's what ODE and the USDA are asking, that you're keeping track of that product so that you have an item code that you tried to order that was compliant on your planned menu, and then obviously the substitution that came in. So just keep track of that. They are asking us to track those things. We're moving out of the wild, wild west, and although it kind of feels like we're still there a little bit with all of the out of stocks, we still do have to track that we are trying to be compliant. And then as far as substitutions, some things, Maureen sent a great resource to myself the other day, and we were like, yep, we definitely need to include this. Make sure you're checking CN labels if they are available so that you can make sure that that is a 1-for-1 substitution. So if you needed a 2-grain item that you're ordering in another 2-grain item, I know the buns at the beginning of the school year became a little tricky. So again, just something then we can plan accordingly if we need to add things to your menu to make up the grains that are missing. Utilizing the food buying guide. I know we all probably haven't used that in a very long time. Marge and I still get in there pretty regularly as we're making your menus and recipes. But that is another resource that if you have to use an item that doesn't have a product formulation statement or a CM label, that you can try to figure out some sort of crediting for that item, or if you're happening to make something from scratch and need to figure out the recipe as well. Again, checking for those product formulation statements, looking at the nutrition fact label. Again, the big thing there coming from us is allergens. So making sure that maybe buns are a great example of this. So most buns don't have eggs and milk in them. If you have to substitute like a Hawaiian bun or a brioche bun or a sweeter bun, those typically do have milk and eggs in them. So just again, that we're making sure our substitutions not only match for compliance reasons, but also for allergy management for those medically fragile kiddos. And then your product spec sheets, those should be available online. Might be a little harder for a non-school item to find those, but again, just another great resource for you to use to make sure that your menu is still as compliant as possible. And then of course, communicating this to your families. If you don't have online menus, that someone from the kitchen or from the nutrition staff is communicating out with the families and especially the school nurses if there are changes, because again, things are not always 1-for-1. Pizza is a great example of this. The carbs vary pretty wildly when it comes to pizza products. I mean, it can be a 10 to 15 gram difference, which is a whole entire dose of insulin difference. So again, just making sure that we are communicating out what we're serving. And then just a little food facts and safety, keeping track of leftovers. This is another thing. I know it's kind of been a roller coaster ride of how many kids are in school, how many kids are eating, what the kids like, what they don't. We're trying to figure that out, especially as, you know, we can't really keep running through a cycle menu. We're kind of doing a different cycle every week, it kind of feels like right now. So my suggestion is to try to use your leftovers the very next day as an additional option. All you have to do is reheat them. They should be ready to go. So that way they're not sitting in your storage. If you do have to put them into the cooler or freezer, just making sure that you're dating them for later use and that they're not getting lost. This is a great way to fill in if you're short on an item that you have menued. Grab your leftovers and make sure that you're using those up. I will pass it back to Maureen.
All right, guys, surprise. I stopped the video intentionally because last time we didn't end up having a lot of time at the end for questions and answers. And so many of you now are very familiar with how to use the chat feature in a Zoom meeting. And we wanted to stop and take a quick pause just to offer you the opportunity to ask Sarah any questions. So if you would like, you can unmute yourself and put your camera on if you so choose to. And we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have relative to what Sarah just presented, along the ideas of keeping your compliance up to snuff, as well as any food service or safety item questions relative to some of the dated information she just gave. That resource that I provided, actually, we would be happy to share. So as I wait to see if anybody has a question or is brave enough to want to say hey and unmute, we will be sharing, as we have in the past, a follow-up email. Look for it after today's presentation, closer to the end of the month, kind of recapping some of these resources. And as always, you have lead Pasonic partners, and any and all of us are here to answer questions. I always say, if you're running business as usual, then the audit thing shouldn't be scary. I know it is scary. We want to help you not be so afraid of making sure we're taking the time necessary to keep this Wild West kind of thing going on a little bit organized so that you're not stressed coming into audit season. So I'm not seeing anything in the chat, and I'm not, I didn't really pause, but I will pause for a second. Anybody have anything? If not, we will continue forward. All right, looks like we are going to get back into it. And, I talk a little bit all the time about practicing what we preach. And, I like to do this because I want you to think sometimes when we talk about recipes and we talk about menu ideas, you all think we're crazy, and I know it because I hear you say it. And you call me or I come on site and you go, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, but we don't have the staff or we don't have the time. And so, I love our industry in that we're not competitive restaurants, but I do love to spark a little sibling rivalry. And when I say that, it's not to, put anybody down for not creating local recipes or scratch cooking. We know you are up against it. I just want to shift your thinking a little bit. We are seeing some commitment to, instead of spending the time managing out of stocks in logistics, let's use pizza as an example. Pizza's on all of our menus. It is a fan favorite with kids. It's easy to make as a vegetarian option if it's just a cheese pizza and accommodate students that are not going to eat meat. It's a good way to sneak in some sneaky healthy vegetables and doing some variations on just a basic pepperoni or cheese pizza. Maybe not for the elementary kids. You guys remember, I have an 8-year-old. I get it. She wouldn't love to see like anything green or mushroom or any kind of craziness on her pizza. But you get where I'm going with this. Pizza is a popular, versatile item. And I know many of our schools are struggling to get the typical frozen pizza that is a commodity that they've used on their cycle menu due to some out of stocks. And so we would encourage you to think about what a school like Copley Middle School has done. And what they are doing, for those of you who were able to attend our back to school boot camp this fall, we were able to reintroduce some of our locals to Megan from Dogo's. And so for those of you who are in Ohio, in our region, and also perhaps are members of the Ohio School Council bid, we wanted to gently remind you that there are local pizza options. And so for many of you, you're already thinking, I'm not getting those darn dough balls. I don't have the time to press them and use them. Well, this is an opportunity for you to understand that she has more than just that. Obviously, we love her cookies, but this year she is featuring a already pre-baked flatbread. And so for not only the pizza out of stocks, but we all know many of us are doing the build your own pizza kit. And some of us are experiencing out of stock issues with the local bread, the Father's Table local bread, which has historically been cut into triangles and put into the bistro boxes. Well, think about how that local bread looks in that it offers a 2-ounce whole grain equivalent. This is the local substitution for that. And so in this picture, you are seeing them actually top them as mini personal flatbread, which is just awesome. Certainly why it sparks creativity is because we, again, are chasing some of the leftovers. And so on the right, you see some of those chicken leftovers being mixed with a nice spicy Frank's hot sauce and being topped for like a buffalo chicken flatbread. And certainly the varieties to accommodate those that are the meat lovers with pepperoni, a fan favorite, and then the cheese for those who are looking for something that is just kind of the standard plain Jane, but still thumbs up in terms of flavor. So we love this idea, and certainly you see it around a workspace where there is a team kind of assembly line going with the flatbread creations and using typical recipes as well as leftover recipes. I had the opportunity to go to Talmadge. I was in awe of them. I actually told them this. I think they are rock stars. And so many of you, I love you too. And I think you are rock stars. They are still creating this pressed, they don't have a pizza press. They're getting the dough balls from Dogo's and they're making it their main entree of the day. So they've simplified their menu. And again, use this teamwork to make the dream work, which is homemade pizza. And so on this day, they were serving this as their main option. And they did have some Caesar chicken salads prepared in the cooler, prepped the day before. So really what I'm highlighting here is that obviously we all know this pizza tastes amazing. We all know it's supporting local. We all know that it's low, a 2-ounce whole grain compliance check. She has it in stock. Nice. She's able to deliver it. So when we think about reducing our frustrations on the logistics side, simplifying our menu, doing a day in advance mise en place prep with our alternative entree salad, this really just became a fun day for the team to create pizzas together and give the students something they really wanted. And so I want us to kind of break down the barriers of thinking how we can't accomplish some of the speed scratch, because I think if we really invested a reinvestment of our time into some of these micro speed scratch recipes, maybe not every day of the week. I know not every day of the week. Some days of the week, you will be able to ease your burden on chasing the out of stocks and the replacements for frozen pizza, and be able to give something that you're proud to serve, as well as all of the other reasons. Personally, you know, this is called practicing what we preach. You know, we're getting into this season, although it's sunny here, it's sunny in Ohio. We haven't felt really fall because it hasn't been chilly as much as it has been, but it's coming. We all know it is. Now is the time, as we practice what we preach, thinking about winter menus or winterizing our cycle. As Sarah alluded to, I feel like we haven't really accomplished a true cycle this fall, given the chasing of out of stocks and the amendments of our menu. So many of us aren't really thinking about doing a winter menu this year. We're thinking about, you know, keeping up what we're doing and just trying to get things going in a more smooth and consistent cycle. It sparked me to think about something that I love and that I usually make only in the winter for my family, and that's lasagna. My mother-in-law, I will give her credit for this recipe that we have now put into Healthy Pro, and this recipe number is here for you to jot down. If I can convince you in any way to try this delicious soup recipe. Thinking about winter and soup and comfort, this recipe actually hailed from Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, at a soup tasting event that we attended during the holidays several years back. And what I liked most about it is it accomplished the delicious flavor of lasagna without the labor of like the process of building a lasagna from scratch. And so it kind of sparked me to think that there are some fan favorite winter weather recipes that we can just really make a ton easier by shifting the concept a little bit. And so this obvious soup recipe is one of those examples. The other thing practicing what we preach is I'm kind of going in and coaching schools to doing what I just shared, which is kind of reallocating the logistic rat race into some speed scratch items. It started me thinking, when I make soup for my family or chili or you name it, something, and I'm going through the effort of making it, I double and sometimes triple the batch and freeze those items so that they become easy suppers for us during the week when we're busy and back to schedules and running around. And so we have gotten ourselves in a rut of kind of chasing the logistics. And I want us to think a little bit about some of this batch cooking that we used to all love to do. Maybe lasagna soup isn't your thing. Maybe there was a soup that your students really, really loved. And thinking about how nice it would be to have that backup, something you've made, something that kids love, something you're proud to serve in a freezer, so that when you do have it out of stock or you need to make a menu substitution, you have a backup plan with something you've worked on. So, again, just shifting the conversation, kind of highlighting today what fun recipes as we think forward. And when I say fun recipes, I am going to now stop on my little soapbox on trying to get you to think about those and really just show you some of the easy turnkey recipes that we have in Pasonic Partners database that we are willing to share to really kind of get you inspired to think a little differently. So I am going to hand this over. Many of you who know Marge is our Healthy Meal Planner Pro guru, helping us to standardize recipes, help to get you into compliance with all things spec sheets and CN labels and you name it. So Marge, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Well, I am really excited about this set of recipes that we have. And one, because it's fall and I love fall, and these are a lot of seasonal recipes. What we'd like to, share are some dates that you might want to mark on your calendar that you could maybe meet with your team and think about as you've scaled back your menus. Can you maybe once a month have a special theme day? Or can you introduce a new scratch recipe once a week? Maybe it's just once a month. So I'm going to show you some of these recipes and some specific theme days that are coming up that you might want to think about. And of course, we can't go into this time of year without talking about pumpkin. Like, you cannot go in the grocery store without seeing pumpkin cereal. Cheerios is pumpkin now. Kit Kat, I saw pumpkin. Pumpkin spice lattes, of course. And kids are exposed to these flavors in some of the common foods that they're eating. So we have a recipe here. National Pumpkin Day is actually October 26th. I think you could celebrate pumpkin anytime in the fall. But a pumpkin mac and cheese. So really easy to do with pasta, highlighting broccoli, fresh frozen broccoli, either one work. And it kind of gives that creamy flavor with a little bit of cinnamon in it. So very flavorful for this time of year, as is the turkey and bean pumpkin soup. Again, soups, as Maureen mentioned, sound labor intensive, but we've made many of these soups and they're really quite easy, really just combining ingredients. So this turkey and bean pumpkin soup uses your turkey taco seasoned turkey meat and just mixes it with a little bit of pumpkin puree, your onions, celery, carrots, all combined together, the flavors melding, and is really good. You could use any bean. And this, I used a black bean when we tested the recipe. You can also use a cannelloni bean. It's really versatile. And any of these recipes, when you look at them, sometimes, you know, I always laugh when I look at recipes online, people will always comment how they modified the recipe. You're welcome to do that too. If you look at a recipe and want to tweak it in some way, let us know, and we can substitute any ingredients that you would like and make sure that it's still compliant and meeting the nutrition standards. So celebrating the Day of the Dead on November 1st and November 2nd. So of course we know that Mexican types of foods are very popular for kids. So making a menu and celebrating some of those Mexican foods that we often have on our menu, but maybe with a little bit of a twist and highlighting it to introduce some new foods. So again, we talk about making homemade taquitos because of supply chain. We know those have been a challenge to get. And I love this picture. While it's not a photo that you would see on a food magazine, it's an authentic photo that we took when we went into a school and they made the homemade taquitos. So they crisp up really nice, taste really good, can be certainly added to your menu, add them with some salsa, maybe with another option. If you're worried about having to take the time to make them, maybe if you have them as an offering in addition to something else, then you're trying out something new also. The Mexican street corn, also known as elote, again, super easy. You're just taking corn, kind of putting it on a sheet pan with some olive oil, roasting it, and then tossing it in a yogurt, cojita cheese, cilantro, jalapeno kind of dressing. This was very popular. We did also do this at a recent professional development day and turned out really good and was a hit. And then serving this, of course, using some local shag-bark chips would be an option. And then there are pre-made churros available in GFS that are compliant, whole grain. It's a fun way to mix up your menu a little bit. Just thinking about fall. I love fall and fall recipes. So again, these are all recipes that we have recently tested and turned out really well. The harvest hash, a simple roasting of vegetables. So in this particular recipe number, we use sweet potatoes, butternut squash, and apples, and just tossed it with some olive oil, salt and pepper, and roasted it. It's a great way to introduce kids to new vegetables, maybe that they haven't had. Again, another very versatile recipe that if you want to substitute Brussels sprouts in place of one of the recipe or one of the ingredients, or cauliflower, you could also do that. And again, we're able to modify any of these recipes for you. This harvest rice is very colorful, very harvesty. And it's really just taking your brown rice and then tossing it with some roasted carrots, diced carrots, apples, cranberries, sunflower seeds. And then we've actually added a orange maple vinaigrette to it that just kind of brings all of those flavors together. Super simple to do and provides, we're always looking for an alternative grain on those menus. This, I think, would be a great fall one to try. And certainly in the fall, we think of what two great combinations, sweet potatoes and pumpkin pie. So we have this, again, simple, just cubing sweet potatoes, tossing with some pumpkin pie spice, and roasting those makes a nice side dish. So on November 1st is also World Vegan Day. And I think a lot of times when we think of our vegan or vegetarian options, what we think of like spaghetti with red sauce or just a salad or cheese pizza. When we're looking at these recipes, they actually are things that not only a vegetarian or vegan would want to eat, but I think even people who are meat lovers would really enjoy these recipes. And I mentioned I have 3 picky teenage boys, and I will make lentil sloppy joes, and oftentimes they don't even know. And this can be really as simple as taking a prepared sloppy joe sauce and mixing it with lentils and spicing it up a little bit with, you know, some onions and peppers. Or for those schools that really want to go all scratch, we also have a recipe that utilizes a completely, you know, scratch made sloppy joe sauce. So again, customized to as easy or as, you know, challenging if you have more time, more staff that you want to do something that way. And this is really an inexpensive option. You know, beans are pretty available and are inexpensive. So whether you use 100% lentils on a sloppy joe, or maybe you even mix part lentils and part of your typical ground beef crumbles to make a sloppy joe to kind of ease in some of those people that might be a little bit more timid about a 100% vegan sloppy joe. Sloppy joes are a great way to transition into trying some vegan alternative foods. And then this vegan lo mein. So again, super simple. Kids love like noodles with a Asian sauce. And then it has edamame in it as the protein source. So, and I think even kids who aren't a vegan or vegetarian would really enjoy something like this. You could also use that previous recipe I mentioned as another option on National Chinese Takeout Day, which is November 5th. And I think Chinese takeout is a pretty common food for kids to be exposed to. So why not use that as an opportunity to try out a new recipe? And again, so many of these recipes are really just combining ingredients. They don't have to be, and they're not labor intensive. So we have an Asian noodle chicken salad where you're using your, you know, spaghetti noodles and just tossing it with some slaw mix, basically, adding chicken to it, and then a simple Asian dressing. And how fun would it be to put that in a takeout container? So we know there's some shortages with paper products. This would be an alternative to reduce your burden of need for some of those other paper products. Serving it in a takeout pail would be a fun, easy way to celebrate National Chinese Takeout Day. And then November 9th I hope you're writing down some of these days and think maybe I could do one of them. National Greek Yogurt Day. So we know, yogurt parfaits are fun. Kids like yogurt parfaits. So maybe put a seasonal twist on it, and a pumpkin pie yogurt parfait. So again, simple pumpkin puree mixed with the yogurt with a granola topping makes it really seasonal, and kids like that. The apple pie yogurt parfait, also very simple. You can use your commodity sliced apples, and then I would even top it with a little bit of, to make it local, just for garnish, some local apple just diced on the top or served with it. Would be another fun way to celebrate, and seasonal National Greek Yogurt Day. All right, and of course we can't end this season without talking about Thanksgiving. So actually the recipe that you see there under the word Thanksgiving is one that we have in Healthy Pro, just a traditional Thanksgiving bowl where everything's, again, easy, convenient. Even if you're serving in the classroom, you can still celebrate Thanksgiving with traditional foods. And this is a great way to do that. We have a recipe for a sweet potato casserole. And, again, just using canned sweet potatoes, or we know that the kind of flakes that you rehydrate of potatoes are also available. So there's both options, whichever you prefer. Making the sweet potato casserole, you can't have a holiday meal without sweet potato casserole. Or in my family, we tend to do that cheesy potato casserole that is quite popular. So we did test a school-friendly recipe for that, using, again, those dehydrated potatoes, or again, frozen hash brown cubes, and versatile either way, and making a cheesy potato casserole. And I think I duplicated this sweet potato and pumpkin pie spice, but that would be, of course, a great side as an alternate for a Thanksgiving potato offering. So, and of course, you can't talk about Thanksgiving without the turkey. So what are your, options for turkey? So we'd want to highlight these options that we've heard will be available. Again, be like the Pilgrims and the Indians and share. So any of these that you may order, would encourage you to order what you need, so that everybody can celebrate Thanksgiving with the turkey. So there is the Genio turkey with gravy, and this could be served, over potatoes, or even used like as a turkey pot pie if you want to do something different. With a biscuit, that's another popular, way to serve that Genio turkey with the gravy. And then the commodity turkey roasts are available, or are coming. We're going to be coming available soon. So those are an option also, where you can just roast the turkey and then slice it, and of course do a variety of applications. If you want to mix it in something, serve it, dice it, however you want to use that. And then also is the Genio turkey slices. So this is a thicker slice of turkey that is also an option. And so again, we have our My School Menus back of the house. For anybody who's not familiar with this, this is where we post 4 new recipes every month. And so I'll just kind of highlight the ones on the bottom of each category. We have a Harvest of the Month. Again, that pumpkin and broccoli macaroni and cheese recipe is on this resource. So even people who may not have access to us sharing recipes with them through Healthy Meal Planner Pro. You can request this link through our support desk, and we can send you the link for these recipes, and they're available free download. The recipe is available via our My School Menus back of the house link. Surprise how good on Simply Fresh these carrot fries with a buffalo yogurt dip turned out. So trying to think of, again, seasonal vegetables, carrots tossed in a ranch, like powdered ranch seasoning, and then roasted. I think that I like sweet potato fries. I think these rival sweet potato fries as being really tasty, and then served with a buffalo yogurt dip. So those have been very good. And when you combine it with a buffalo yogurt dip, you know, again, kind of trying new foods that kids might be a little bit tentative about trying, when you pair it with something like a buffalo yogurt dip, they're maybe more apt to try something like that. We have the taquitos is our global on trend ethnically diverse recipe. And then also in the soup category for a comfort classic, we have a chicken enchilada soup. Again, super easy, combining, you know, frozen corn, black beans, diced chicken. It's just assembling ingredients. And like Maureen, when I make this at home, I freeze half of it so that I have it for another time available to eat. So when you make soups, you know, they always taste better when they're sat around a bit too. So that recipe is really easy, and I think kids would enjoy. And so I think that's all for mine. I turn it back to Maureen.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marge. I am so excited, you know, that number one, those of you who are joining us that are part of our Healthy Pro family, it's as easy as a simple support ticket. We'll get you covered. We'll get it all shared down and get it into your cycle to meet not only the day's recommendations, but the week averages. So we've got you. But we also have all of you who are part of the school family in our region and certainly nationally. These recipes are all free, and so they can inspire any work you're doing. We certainly want to, again, it takes a village, and we are not competitive restaurants, and we are super pumped to share out the good resources. Also, some of those recipes come from you all. They come from folks that try something and ask us to help standardize it so that it can be compliant. To Sarah's point, you know, the goal is still planning compliant menus, but we are here also to take your ideas and help you meet that compliance. So I can't do these without just really singing the praise. You know, we just kind of challenged us to think a little bit differently about spending our time, not chasing logistics, but re-inspiring perhaps some speed scratch and scratch recipes. And certainly those dates, we'll be sharing this again after this presentation in an email. To those who have registered today, keep in mind, you know, it does not only excite the kids. We talked a little bit at the beginning of the year, if you can't give it away for free, what's going on? No, many of us don't have that problem. We're trying to figure out how to feed all of the masses. But certainly when you are in the thick of being so busy, it's certainly exciting to do something that brings a little excitement to the kitchen and certainly pride in what you all are preparing. So on that note, caught doing something good, talk about pride. You know, one of the pillars of Pasonic Partners' mission is wholesome meals, fueling healthy lives, the big one. How do we support local? And many of you, despite the schedule challenges this year, staffing and otherwise, really did take the time last week to not only celebrate National School Lunch Week, but to take the time to do the Apple Crunch. And so this has definitely been something near and dear to the heart of Pasonic Partners for years now, really connecting the local farm to school effort. And so thanks to one of our newest Pasonic partners this year, we're going to share some pictures from Stone Monroe Falls. They were able to not only join in the crunch, but take it as an opportunity to like jazz up the space and decorate a little bit. I think many of us kind of had those seasonal decorations in the back and now are really trying to find time to jazz up the space and change it up a bit. This is one good example of not only the typical message, like one at a time, keep your distance, wash our hands, smile often, but by God, we're crunching today and we are going to celebrate some local apples. Here were some sweeties that I was able to crunch with at Copley Fairlawn Middle School. And yes, these are middle school boys, often too cool for school. Really happy to stop and take an apple, talk a little bit about their school lunch program with me. And so part of what keeps me excited about doing what we do in schools is actually being in schools and talking to the kids. And so these sweet boys were absolutely happy to share in the Apple Crunch day with us. This group goes without saying, you know, I always say they are always caught doing something good, led by the fabulous Miss Jess Stone. Woodridge Middle School not only had the opportunity to decorate, you see their obviously lovely fall decorations, but to really decorate themselves. And so one of the things we always talk about with caught doing something good is getting in the action and enjoying what you're doing. And so if this can serve as just a breath of fresh air and or just an idea, you know, we love Halloween costumes. We've shared caught doing something good with team costuming, and certainly just the opportunity to, you know, home away from home is the work, right? So we are at the workplace a lot. Being able to just change up with decorations and doing fun things specifically as it relates to supporting local. And this is, again, not only the Apple Crunch and supporting, but having different varieties. You see there, I think 4 different varieties of apples. So don't forget that local food buying bid. Apples are in season and there are tons of great ones. I know my plan for this weekend when I get back on in Ohio is to go apple picking. So part of this, these ideas of exposing kids to different apples, maybe sharing information about pick your own orchards in our region. You know, Quarry Hill Orchards is a part of the Ohio School Council bid where these apples are likely purchased from. And it's not a far drive to be able to share that information with our schools to encourage people to kind of take it further and involve their family. When I say involve the family, I really mean involve the family, because Pasonic Partners, you all see, is my family as well as my true family. And we actually just had a meeting in the park where we took the opportunity to grab our local apples and crunch right along with our schools. So again, just a moment to celebrate, take a break, delicious apples, they're in season, and also a nod to our intern. And I think she's on our call today. So Pasonic is back in full sharing the love and expanding our family and hosting interns who are able to share in event days like this with us. I would be remiss if I didn't say the cutest little things are the babies. And so many of you know, not only does Pasonic work in local school districts, we work in many local Head Start programs. I always say it is very, you know, start them young, right? When they come to us, if they've been in a Head Start or an early childhood center that focuses on nutrition education, exposure, tri-days, then we're just handing those babies to you for kindergarten and plus into elementary school, ready to be adventurous eaters and really understanding what fuels their body. And so these little faces are the faces of the future. And so Pasonic invests our time not only in spreading the joy of local farm to table at our schools, tables and lunch cafeterias, but also in these little Head Start rooms. And we thank this group of teachers for sharing these fun photos. I am going to pass it over to Miss Tina right now, because not only are we celebrating local farm to school, but you know what? We are back and getting creative and doing some really awesome PD days. So I'm going to hand it to Tina, who's had the hand at creating opportunities for some local schools. Tina?
So I'd like to thank you all for joining us. And as much as we would love to celebrate every one of you right now, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. We were able to go into East Cleveland and do a PD day this week with them and just say, hey, let's do something totally outside of the box. So we want to thank East Cleveland so much for bringing us into their building this week, but also we threw them a thing. We made them do Chopped. So if any of you, I'm a huge foodie and love watching all the food shows and stuff. So I thought, what can we do? Let's throw them a Chopped challenge. And I gave these ladies 4 different items in a basket, gave them pantry items and said, here, make what you can out of these. And what these women made were amazing. So these are our Chopped winners from East Cleveland. And I was amazed with the imagination that they came up with this. And I think it was a great thing to bring back to all of us, because I think we've been so tunnel vision into what we're doing with out of stocks, getting our menus, are we compliant? And this was kind of a way to let loose and just have some fun and bring that imagination back. The next school we went to was Maple Heights. And as Marge talked about all those wonderful recipes, again, comes back to practice what we preach. We went into Maple Heights and these lovely staff members invited us in, and they worked so hard on these recipes. So they tried these recipes themselves. Had one of the managers said, this was my favorite culinary training ever. I liked every item we did. And we brought them in 6 different recipes and they tried. So they kind of did ones that were all local. We used, Dave Sokol came in from Overland Food Hub and brought us some fresh local vegetables to use. And the staff members were wonderful. They went in, no questions, followed recipes, gave us even little things to change up. You know, we were making the taquitos. The homemade taquito recipe that we gave them had homemade refried beans, chicken, and cheese. Hey, my kids aren't going to like the refried beans. Can we do the chicken and cheese and put the beans on the side? So they gave us little hints and things to follow along with it, which was wonderful. So I really would like to thank all of them for coming in or letting us come in and working with us. So just remember, as you're out there, we are still doing try different things, different culinary actions, different recipes, and we're here to make them build them for you. So I think, is that okay? Oh, another rock star week. Okay, we know we've had our supply chains, as we've heard throughout here. Well, Garfield Heights has their own little supply chain hack. Couldn't get 5 compartment trays this week. What do? I get a phone call. Oh my gosh, I have no trays. What are we feeding these kids in? Well, they've decided to get 3 compartment takeout containers, cut off the tops, and they use the bottoms for this one. And then now they'll be able to use the tops on a different menu day, to maybe where you don't need so many different compartments. So they were still able to get out the food to their kids, and the kids had no idea that we were out of trays. So congratulations to them. Great hack. Next, we're going to go into kind of the industry spotlight. So with the industry spotlight, we've talked about the local options. We need to celebrate these local people as much as we do. And Maureen had spoke earlier about the Dogos bringing in. And just so you know, as much as we, ask you to come out here and do this, we do have videos and trainings for you guys on our website. You can contact us and get them. So we're not asking you to just take a dough ball and figure out what to do with it. We are aware of the supply chain issues, and this is the greatest thing you could possibly do. And again, it gives, I don't know, I've worked in the kitchen, so I know, and every little thing that when I got to make something myself, it made me very, very excited to do it. I was very proud of what I put out. And so it just gives us, we all need that little push, I think, to get us going and keep us going through all these crazy times. And I think this was doing pizzas, flatbread Fridays. Do a flatbread Friday. Use all your leftovers in your refrigerator, and it's the perfect thing. By having Megan from Dogos, they're going to make those crusts for you. So it's one less thing you don't have to worry about. Do your little flatbreads, do your local pizzas. And it is also, as much as we talk about costs and stuff, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. It's as much as it's cheaper. We can't get the pizzas. We talk about getting pizzas. Well, if we can't get pizzas, they're going to give us this. And we're going further and further away from our cost point. So by doing a homemade semi-scratch item, you're bringing your cost point back to where it needs to be. So as I talked about the cost here, we've done a little cost analysis along the way. And if you look at this, you'll see what our pre-pandemic cost was per plate. And what we just took we just took last week's costs and kind of filtered it out, seeing how much we've increased and what we spent. I'm a numbers person, as everybody knows. And I'm all about our reimbursement. I was so excited when we got I went in, did our reimbursement for September. My treasurer called me this morning and says, I thought this was August, September, and October together. I'm like, no, it was just September's reimbursement that we got. So yes, we get excited over that money that we're getting in, but we also have to stop and think about this. Yes, that money is great, but we also are spending more on our products. Our groceries went up 28% this year. We're having supply chain issues, so we are going away from our menus that we've planned. So you're seeing that your costs are going up per item. So I just want everybody to be a little more cognizant of what you're doing as you're planning your menus or you're changing your substitutions. Here's the perfect example. Our cost efficient, on our menus, a pretzel bun is normally 35 cents. Well, if you go for availability right now, we may be paying 73 cents per bun. Now think about that. You want to think, is this something I really want to do? Now that's a big difference, 35 cents to 73 cents. And you're talking just one bun. Now you're talking, if you have 50 kids, where is that going to take you? Same with our burgers, where our burgers normal are 24 cents versus now we're paying 33 cents on ones that may be available and they're smaller. So there's all different kinds of things we need to think about this as we're looking at our costs. Mandarin oranges, 24 cents, using them out of a can, 24 cents versus you buy those Dole, the Dole prepackaged cups and they're 48 cents. You need to think about this. And I'm not talking about, I do understand some staffing is an issue, but there's also, so you need to pick and choose. Don't, on a day that you're saying, okay, we may need, I don't have anything available. What am I going to do? Or I have people call off. So you may have to go a little higher priced item. But just think about this on a whole as you're going through. Our bistro boxes last year were $1.17, this year $1.31. So just pay attention to where you're spending your money and just kind of be smart on how you do it. I understand staffing is an issue. So there are going to be days you're going to have to go higher on your products, but just make sure there's a lower product day as you're going through there. And the next one we talk about our plate analysis cost was on our supply cost. A 5-compartment foam tray that most people are using, 4 cents. They're not available right now. So we've got the economical, the biodegradable ones, they're 9 cents. You're paying double what you're doing. So again, we talk about the Garfield hack where you use your 3-compartment takeout right now. Yes, it's 9 cents, but we're getting 2 meals out of that day. So you're going to get it for one day. So it balances out, pretty much comes comparable to your 5-compartment foam trays. So just kind of be aware of what you're spending. Again, because as much as our reimbursements are up, so are the cost of our supplies.
Thank you, Tina. And I know we are going to put into the chat the video showing how to use that Dogo's pizza dough several different ways. And so the training piece on that is a really cool video done in conjunction with Megan from Dogo's. So take a look in the chat box, and in the follow-up, we will be sending out more information if you're interested. So thank you, Tina, for sharing us, as always, your insights. Now's the time I'm just going to do a little shout out. I think we all feel the pressure of the responsibility of feeding our students. And many of us took that responsibility so seriously last year when we flipped over to emergency feeding. And many of us that are in communities where we still see a high amount of food insecurity and hunger, we think, wow, we can't do it all by ourselves. And the good news is you don't have to. Today, if you wondered why I'm in California, it's because there are some wonderful things going on out here in San Diego. Feeding San Diego is one of our clients. Again, not a K-12, not a school, not a Head Start. Our new effort to really help bridge the gap of food insecurity and provide help for stopping hunger. Our work with Feeding San Diego has been inspiring to me. And today, why I'm just sharing that is because I want to say, we all know there are opportunities, and these couple things that we've done in partnership. This one is just local food rescue. What are we doing to tap into resources for local food rescue and helping give our families information about how to use agencies and alternative supplies of food in our region? So Feeding San Diego is one of 200 Feeding America sites, and there are Feeding America sites in Ohio and the Midwest, actually 13 to be exact, 7 in Ohio. And so we know that if you are a site where you're still seeing food insecurity, there are agencies that do at-risk supper programs and alternative snacks, even backpack and weekend programs. We know we have had a hard time keeping up with just the breakfast and lunch in schools. And so this here is helping support education and information, not only for the families when the students are in school, but knowing that hunger doesn't stop there. This is an example of one of the recipes we helped co-create that actually kind of mimics the Pass the Love event that Michelle Obama had at our CMSD, Cleveland Municipal Schools, this past year, whereas sometimes you get a box of food and you don't know what to do with it, right? We just talk about that, and even in the kitchens, what do we do with our recipes? So this is an extension of how Pasonic is really working to feed all people, families too, and continuing to work on hunger relief is one of the missions in the desire for us to kind of continue to know that we are all in this together. Feeding San Diego alone last year fed over 40.3 million meals in this region. And then again, because we're out here working with them, I just want to give Bree and her team in the youth meals, if she's on the call today, thank you for all your work this week with me to kind of think forward as to how food relief agencies such as Feeding San Diego play such a huge role in supporting the work we're doing when the students aren't in school with us. Many of us know hunger continues, and we also know that our staffing limits and the infrastructure of our districts, as well as the time management of the supply chain, has really prohibited us from trying to do things like at-risk supper. You don't have to do it by yourself. Tapping into, tagging in the relief of San Diego and other relief agencies, food boxes, all of the things that we saw happen in pandemic time are still available for us to work together. As always, Pasonic Partners is here for you, with you. Please find www.nutrismartnetwork.org is our site that we have that is a partner site to our Pasonic website. If you're looking for more of those resources, I think we'll plug it into the chat box. And again, follow us on social media. Thanks today to our exquisite team of professionals behind the scenes. I know we have a great marketing team this year supporting our efforts and really helping pump out good information about our blogs and resources to you on our social media outlets as well. So if you're not following us at our Pasonic handles on Facebook and Instagram, please do, because we are providing information on what's in the news and blogs and things that might help you find success. And so, you know, we are coming up against the hour here, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for taking the time with us today, this afternoon. I know we all have a big job to get back to. So with that, I will open it for questions and stay on, but just again, want to inspire you to really invest and innovate in wholesome meals that fuel healthy lives. And thank you for the very important work that you do.